Thank you, Simon, for that comprehensive presentation. Now, finally, I would like to invite Pak Johan to deliver his presentation. Since a majority of our participants today are coming from or based in Indonesia, I think it's fitting to conclude the presentations with the sharing from the perspective of a standard setter in Indonesia, particularly on how they are addressing questions on the impact of COVID-19 to financial reporting in Indonesia. Pak Johan?
Thank you, Oki. Good afternoon, distinguished guests on the webinar. I would like to present as my role of the Indonesian Financial Accounting Standard Board chairperson. Before I present, the next slide is a usual caveat that all the presentation that I deliver this afternoon is actually not going through the due process of the board, and whatever the plus or minus from this is on my personal opinion only. Next slide, please. So I would like to touch on only the two press releases that have been issued after the COVID-19 become obvious in Indonesia, which is the first one regarding the PSAK 8 events after reporting period and PSAK 71 financial instrument, and the second one is the impact of COVID-19 on the fair value measurement. Next slide. If you see and hear listen the presentation of the two panelists before, whereby I think Australia, Ralph talked about mainly about the Australian IFRS, and Simon touched a little bit also on the Malaysian IFRS. I think if we use financial statement or accounting as a symbol of language, then I think the applicable financial reporting, which is in Indonesia, is a standard akuntansi keuangan or financial accounting standard. In my diagram, is actually the grammatical to interpret the accounting information, what present by the entity, audit by the auditors, and read or understood by the stakeholders or the users of the financial statement. My job of presenting this afternoon is actually make a little bit easier, because some of the issue, because of the consistent application of the accounting standard in Australian, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, because all of our standard is based on IFRS, then I think I can see, and maybe you can see later on as well, the conclusion is almost consistent between all the three territories of the impact of the COVID-19 on particularly on the issue that I touched. So actually, the press release that issued by the board is nothing in the hierarchy of the standard. It's just kind of an educational material issued by the board. So the intention of the board is not to change or amend the principle in the standard, whether it's PSAK 8, PSAK 71, or PSAK 68. So all principles remain the same. So I will reiterate or re-emphasize the certain point on the press release. The first point, I think, also touched by the two other panelists about events after the reporting period, which is in the accountant terms or technical terms is a subsequent event. So whether this subsequent event caused by COVID-19 is actually adjusting or not adjusting. We are talking about the financial statement as of the year end 31st December 2019. So that's the context of the press release. So our conclusion is quite similar what has been presented by the two other panelists. So COVID-19, and reading the timeline as well, especially in Indonesia, the first case was announced only in the 1st of March. So we think and we conclude that the COVID-19 pandemic in relation to the financial statement as of 31st December 2019 is a non-adjusting event. Although this is non-adjusting event, I think you can see also consistent message that the entity with that year end need to consider the going concern assumption in preparing its financial statement. Can we go to the next slide? So I think especially Ralph and also maybe a little bit by Simon about the fair value measurement, PSAK 68 is actually almost identical with IFRS 13. You can see in this slide as well, re-emphasize some of the point that mentioned in the previous presentation by the two panelists, that I think by the standard, there is actually a level of the fair value, level 1, level 2, and level 3. And then by definition, fair value is actually is done in an orderly transaction between the market participant at the measurement date. So what happened in the next slide, you can see in the next slide. Yeah. In the current situation, we know that the volume and the level of trading activities has been decreased significantly. Can the entity automatically conclude that in this current situation, if the entity already used the level 1, the quoted market price, that automatically that the quoted market price does not represent the fair value? What the board conclude, actually, in principle, if there is a significant decrease in volume and level of trading activities, then there is a guidance in the, especially in PSAK 68, in paragraph B48, to assess whether the transaction is orderly or not. If you recall from the previous slide, one of the definition of the fair value is a transaction is a orderly transaction. So there is a situation anticipated in paragraph B48, 43, that when is the transaction is not orderly. Under the current situation, seeing also the volume and the level of trading activities, I think the board generally conclude that to achieve the transaction not orderly, maybe not yet to that point. So in the current situation, the quoted market price still applicable to be used without any relaxation until or unless that the paragraph B43 is achieved or is met. So that's the principle in the fair value measurement that we are reiterate again in the press release. So let's move on to the PSAK 71. In the PSAK 71, this is dealing or the equivalent with the IFRS 9. Oh yeah, just for the background, I think most of the audience know that our PSAK 71, 72, and 73, which is the equivalent of IFRS 9, 15, and 16, is only applicable by 1st January 2020. So we call it the Big 3 standard, is applicable by 1st January 2020. One of the question is actually whether the effect of the COVID-19 can be kind of reflected back when the entity first transition to the PSAK 71 from the previous PSAK, which is PSAK 55. So our conclusion when we discuss and then we release in the press release, consistent with the non-adjusting subsequent event, if you are dealing with the financial statement 31st December 2019 or /1 January 2020, then I think the ECL impact resulting from the COVID-19 cannot be included in the model. That's the first point. The second point, we understand in the normal situation, the ECL, can we go to the next slide, please? That has been also discussed in the previous presentation of the panelists. In the normal situation, normally the model for the ECL is depending on the what is called in technically is a significant increase in the credit risk. What they call is if there is not significant increase in credit risk, normally they call it bucket 1. Loss allowance is provided by 12 months of the ACL. But if there is a significant increase in credit risk, then the loss allowance will be provided for the lifetime of the ECL. Then the issue, if we see for the next slide, especially in Indonesia, there's a government relaxation resulting from the POJK 11. Then the question is raised whether actually with the government relaxation, whether the credit risk, the assessment of the credit risk, whether there is a significant increase in credit risk, is actually automatically increased or not. I think that's the question posed to the board. So I think consistent with the presentation by Ralph in Australia, and also Simon also quote the must be press release as well. I think based on the IFRS 9 or PESAKA 71, which is principle based, we don't think this is an automatic or mechanistic assessment. So it should be assessed case by case. So in certain situation, I think in the press release also mentioned, if the government relaxation actually give a kind of ability for the borrower to continue to their business after the pandemic, then I think in that situation, maybe the lender can conclude maybe there is no significant increase in the credit risk. But if no matter what, from the government relaxation has been given after the COVID-19, using all the model that for this particular lender, for this particular borrower, the lender conclude that the relaxation unfortunately will not help the ability of the borrower to pay back the loan, then I think in that situation, then in very specific situation like that, the conclusion maybe there is a significant increase in credit risk. As a consequence of that, then the ECL will be provided lifetime. So I reiterate again or re-emphasize again that the assessment of the significant increase in credit risk is not mechanistic. So it should be come back again to the model. Although there is uncertainty now because of the caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, the board conclude that the ECL model is still workable, can be done, and then maybe the assessment can be done two things. First, by adjusting the model itself, which is, I think, because of no historical experience at all of this pandemic at this level, then I think I would expect that adjustment to the model also may be very difficult. So in the practice, then I think most of the lenders and the auditors as well may see that maybe adjustment, what is called post-model overlay adjustment, will be adjusted to the model that they have used by the lenders to include the impact of the COVID-19. So the most significant, because of the uncertainty, I think is the disclosure. The disclosure, as mentioned again and again by the two presenters and by me, I think in the uncertainty situation like this is the most important one. So I think with that, I would like to conclude my presentation because we have run out a little bit of the timing. So to give you time to have a question and answer, I give the time back to Oki.